All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are breaking down one of the most important things you can possibly master as a creator: how to write YouTube titles that the algorithm absolutely falls in love with. And look, this isn't about guesswork or getting lucky. It's about strategy and using the right formulas. Okay, so the very first thing you have to understand is that your title is, well, pretty much everything. The difference between a bad title that barely gets a 2% click-through rate and a great one that's sitting over 10%, it's not just a little bump in views. It is a massive, massive difference in how many people YouTube even decides to show your video to in the first place. A great title gets exponentially more impressions. It's a total game changer.
In fact, I'm talking up to 10 times more impressions from the algorithm when you nail that title and get into that magical 10% click-through rate zone. That is literally the line between a video that nobody ever sees and one that has a real shot at going viral. It's a huge opportunity that's just sitting there, waiting for you.
So let's really dive into this high-stakes game we're all playing. You have to understand that the YouTube algorithm is a ruthless judge. It makes its mind up in a split second, and it bases that judgment on one key thing. And that one thing is your click-through rate, or CTR. It's the very first signal your video sends out. Before anyone watches a single second, before they like or comment, YouTube is watching to see how many people who see your title and thumbnail actually bother to click. It's probably the most important metric that so many creators just completely overlook. And look, the data on this is just brutal. If your CTR dips below 2%, YouTube just gives up on your video. It stops showing it to people. Your video is effectively dead in the water. So a bad title doesn't just fail to help you, it actively kills your video before it ever has a chance.
Okay, so before I just hand you a bunch of formulas to copy and paste, we need to get inside the viewer's head for a second, right? We've got to understand the why behind a click before we can really master the how.
And what's wild is how simple these principles really are. First, you've got the curiosity gap. You're basically creating an itch that can only be scratched by clicking. Second, specificity. I mean, come on. Which sounds more real? How I made a lot of money, or how I made $10,472? It's not even close. And third, social proof. When you show a result like 100K subscribers, you're basically saying, hey, this isn't just theory. I've got the receipts. It builds instant trust. All right, enough theory. Let's get to the good stuff. Here are 3 super practical, battle-tested formulas that you can start using literally today to fix your click-through rates.
First up, we have what I call the shocking number hook. And honestly, this one is an absolute beast. It leans so heavily on that principle of specificity we just talked about, and it screams, this is real. It's just perfect for case studies or any video where you've got a hard number to back up your claims.
So let's pull this apart and see why it's so powerful. You've got the specific number that grabs their attention, the clear outcome that they want, the time frame that creates urgency, and the promise of a method or a system. It just ticks every single psychological box and makes them feel like they have to know how you did it.
And the proof is in the pudding. Look at this. A boring, generic title like How to Grow Your YouTube Channel gets a pathetic 2.1% CTR. But you apply the formula, boom! You boost that to an incredible 11.3%. That's a 5-fold increase in clicks on the exact same video. That right there is the power we're talking about.
Okay, formula number 2 is the before/after transformation. Oh man, this one is an absolute killer for any video that's about a journey or a big change. You know, fitness transformations, growing a business, learning a new skill, anything like that.
See, what this does is it paints a really vivid picture in the viewer's mind. This huge, stark contrast, from the low point to the high point. It makes the journey feel so much more epic, and it makes them absolutely desperate to know how you pulled it off.
And would you look at the difference here? My YouTube journey is basically a diary entry. No one cares. It's dead on arrival at 1.9%. But frame it as a transformation. Suddenly it hits over 12%. We're talking a 6.4 times improvement. It goes from being about you to being a valuable case study for them.
All right, and for our final trick, we have the secret/reveal format. This one is all about leveraging that powerful psychological trigger we call the curiosity gap. It's fantastic for reviews, tool discoveries, or anything where you're sharing info that feels exclusive.
You know, as soon as you use a word like secret or hidden, you are triggering a major sense of FOMO, fear of missing out.
People are just hardwired to want to be in on the secret. And that little tag at the end, but not talking about, that's just the cherry on top. It makes it almost impossible not to click.
Let's be real. AI tools for content creation is fine. It's a label. It's boring. And it gets a pathetic 1.8% CTR. But the secret AI tool, suddenly it's not a list, it's a treasure hunt. And that's exactly why it pulls in nearly 10%. It's a huge, huge difference in framing.
Okay, so we've got these awesome formulas. They get more clicks, more views, but what does that actually mean for you? Let's talk about the bottom line. Because this isn't just about vanity metrics. This is about a direct line to turning your passion into actual sustainable revenue.
It's a really simple chain reaction when you think about it. You write a better title, that gets you a higher CTR, the algorithm sees that and goes, hey, people like this. So it shows your video to more people, which gets you more views. And of course, more views, well, that directly leads to more revenue. It all starts with the title.
And just look at how massive the financial impact is here. We're not talking about a few extra bucks. With poor titles, yeah, you might make a couple $1,000s in your first year. But if you truly master this skill, if you write great formula-driven titles, you could be looking at more than 10 times that amount. This one single skill can literally change your financial future as a creator.
So that's what I've got for you today. You have the psychology, you have the formulas, you've seen the cold hard proof. The only question left is the one on your screen. Which formula will you test first? Don't just watch this and move on. Go find an underperforming video on your channel right now, apply one of these, and watch what happens.